Folks, good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this Monday night. It is July 31st, 2023. August, right around the corner tomorrow here, well, in a couple hours. It is about 10 o'clock West Coast time here in the PM. Latest activity on the Earthquake 3D globe looks like a 2.4 over here off the, or 3.4, excuse me. Somewhere near the, looks like the coast of Morocco area. Within the strait, a 3.4 coming in there, about 29 kilometers deep. Starting off here with space weather activity, we are looking at a flare that is currently flaring up across the only sunspot here that we mentioned earlier in our update to keep an eye on. And sure enough, it looks like that has produced a little bit of M flare currently. Notice the spiking out here on the map. It looks like we have peaked for the most part. Here's the one-day data showing that curvature back down. So looks like for now this would be a roughly around an M2.2, which is a moderately strong flare. There's the global delayer absorption map showing that the effects there in the ionosphere are being affected obviously by this current event. And the culprit of this of this flaring is going to be 3380 over here. Notice that this thing has grown fairly nicely and fairly quickly over the last couple days. Technically, it all kicked off last night. This thing grew very rapidly, very complex, and that looks like that is going to remain a very active region as it is now on the southwestern quadrant here of the sun. That will, though, however, be scooting off and out of view from the Earth, or at least far as the Earth direction goes. So anything right now, anything that does pop off here could be geo-effective, but probably tomorrow, late tomorrow, this will be much further out here towards the western limb of the sun. And we're left with not a whole lot of interesting company far as the sunspots go. All of these sunspots look fairly stable amongst this whole regional group here. There's some big sunspots here, but they're all fairly stable, folks. There's not a whole lot of potential. Right now, I still think the only one that could see some further activity is right there. 3080 is the that sunspot. Right now, 99% chance for a C flare, M flare at 55, and X flare around 10% chance. Notice the proton event has completely disappeared, although we still have a chance of seeing maybe some more proton events there at about 10% chance. And of course, 3380 is the right now the most advanced one with a beta delta class structure here. We'll continue to watch that for some further flaring. Supposed to see a G1 class storm coming up here later tonight between the 6 and 1200 time frame of the August 1st period. That's going to be technically today or right now. That will start here in about an hour. Right now it's 0500 on August 1st UTC time. So we'll watch for that maybe to come in and spark up a little bit of the auroras in the polar regions. It looks like maybe a potentially getting up to a G1 class storm with a KP index there of around 5. Right now, as you can see, things across the both polar regions here very quiet. Not a whole lot of greenery in the sky. All right, let's see what else we got for earthquake activity here as we pull up the latest map here from the USGS. Anything major going on here? Any major earthquakes? Well, let's check out the largest so far today. Looks to be a 5.0 into the Papua New Guinea area, 119 kilometers deep. Don't really see any further activity here south of the region. This is a subduction zone quake amongst the this little trench right here. Can't remember the name of it, but we'll watch for some further surface activity following this deeper movement that took place here today. Following that, we had a 4.8 off the coast here of Mexico along the Middle America Trench, segment of it, the northern edge. Still keeping an eye on this area down here into the Gulf of Fonseca, right about here. Right now, USGS not showing anything up there on the map. But as we can see here on the Earthquake 3D globe, looks like a handful of smaller quakes in that same area. We're not seeing that pancake stacked event that we seen here earlier last week there, or late last week. Remember how many earthquakes were stacked on top of one another? Well, that's not the case here today. It looks like things are calming down slightly in that area. A look at that region there from the EMSC model shows, well, in the last 24 hours, only 2 earthquakes in this region. So that's a tremendous drop down from the activity we've seen here over the last week, where we had hundreds of earthquakes within this gulf around various volcanoes and upstream here along the Middle America Trench, the subduction zone. But as you can see, only a handful of smaller quakes today. So we'll continue to watch that, though. South America region here, only 1 earthquake showing up from after midnight last night, a 4.4. EMSC models here reporting a couple other smaller quakes there into the Chile area. Puerto Rico area seeing a couple 2s and 3s, nothing big going on there. Up into the states, let's go ahead and jump up here real quick, see what we got. Slight uptick here across Texas and Oklahoma. Nothing major, just a couple 2s and 3s out there across the, you guessed it, the oil fields there of Texas and Oklahoma. Quite a bit of oil fields outside here of Snyder, Texas. I remember going through here, been through here quite a few times. There we go. Remember, this is a jumbled up jigsaw puzzle of oil fields, man. It looks like somebody had fun out here drilling, I bet. But either way, a little bit of earthquake activity with a 3.1, literally within inches of those oil fields. All right, Yellowstone National Park. Looks like a little earthquake activity early this morning on the eastern side here of that super volcano, northeast of Yellowstone Lake, 1.4 and a 1.6 now. Not a lot of earthquake activity currently. We'll check out the latest map. That's going to be this right here. That smaller earthquake activity, you can see it here on Parker Peak. That's going to be those small earthquakes that the USGS is reporting since then. Not a whole lot there on the eastern segment of the, or section of the park. And far as generally the park as a whole, not a whole lot either. Maybe some wind events down here, maybe some thunderstorms from earlier. I'm not for sure what blew through here, but kind of looks like what we've been seeing throughout the summertime there with those thunderstorms as they pop up in the afternoon and then disappear. And then pop up again the next day. All right, Pacific Northwest. A lot of explosions going on here. It looks like explosion, 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 explosion. What is going on up here? These explosions are at various areas across the region here. Quarry blast must be a pretty busy day there. But either way, they're registering some earthquakes there, around a 1.8 or so in various areas across Washington. Now, we have seen tremor elevated across this area. Let me double check tremor map. Wow, what a drop. Only 46 epicenters here tonight compared to yesterday's. We had a couple hundred or so, 232 around the Washington and Oregon area. So things are tapering off here. And that's the Cascadia tremor, slow slip event occurring downstream there into the subduction zone. Not a whole lot of activity currently happening there off the coast, which is good. We want it to remain quiet because when that thing wakes up, well, then our whole world's going to change out here. Northern California, not a whole lot. A couple spotty earthquakes there. Bay Area calming back down as well. Small movement around Long Valley supervolcano, mostly microquakes. And Southern California, as you can see, not a whole lot. Some spotty activity there going on across Southern Cal. Look at the 2.5 map and above. The only one looks like a 2.6 occurring off of the Calaveras fault system here near Morgan Hill. Now, this area has seen a little bit of an uptick in activity here over the last couple days. It looks like that's the area that's seen a 3.6 yesterday. Same area, but today a 2.6. Roughly about the same depth and within that same position there along the Calaveras fault system. What else? Alaska? North to Alaska. Slight uptick here across the Cook Inlet area. Notice getting a little cluster of movement. Also some activity stirring up just outside of the Mount Douglas area. It looks like a handful of smaller earthquakes. Nothing major going on, but little separate swarms, which of course Alaska is famous for. Low activity further to the west here along the Aleutian Trench, 4.3, 183 kilometers deep. The Kuril Kamchatka and the Japan Trench, looks like they've seen well, at least a couple earthquakes here today, a 4.8 and a 4.4 throughout the last 24 hours there. Really not seeing anything extra going on here across this area. Pretty quiet across the Izu Trench and the Mariana Trench down here along the Philippine Plate. Uptick looks pretty obvious here across the Indonesia area and back here in our little quiet zone. This has been very quiet here over the past couple days. Looks like it's starting to fill in a little bit from that 5.0 that we've seen earlier today. New Zealand 3.4 and a 3.1. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here just real quick across the New Zealand area as we pull up GeoNet. Agency monitoring earthquake activity there across New Zealand. 3.4 1 hour ago. Looks like this earthquake was felt by 7 people. Very small amount of earthquake activity. All magnitudes here across the area of New Zealand. 4.6. That looks like it's way up north, though, along the Kermadec Trench. Just check out the earthquake drums here and see what we have. Sometimes these earthquakes that strike way up north there, I'm not 100% certain if they're legit or not. Or maybe they're too far away from the seismograph stations to be picked up. This right here, that looks like a localized earthquake somewhere in the vicinity of this seismograph station, but very small because it doesn't look like it showed up anywhere else. There is our, which one was that? The most recent one. That's going to be the 3.4 down here. Looks like it's very close to the, what is that? That Jackson Bay area, maybe? Well, maybe not Jackson Bay, excuse me. This is North Island area. Maybe around the Black Stump Farm area. Looks like that's about the closest. But either way, that's going to be that 3-pointer showing up. Aside from that, things very quiet previously there at New Zealand. The big island of Hawaii, what do we got? Mauna Loa kicking up here. Nothing big, but we do have a 1.9 at 2.5 kilometers deep there across the northeastern flank of Mauna Loa. Continue to watch that. If it kicks up into a big swarm, then we know something is recharging. Right now, everything is sleeping across the big island. Let's see what else we got here across the area. Some small... See, there's that. I don't know why. Why is it... You guys see that? Remember there was like a 3.7 that came in there? That was the first earthquake that I mentioned here on the update video. It was like a 3.7 off the coast here of Morocco. And that's what I mentioned. And now there's like a 6.1. So EMSC, I don't know if it's EMSC. It's got to be, because when you click on this fake earthquake, it's a false reported earthquake here. It's not a 6.1, but it was a 3.7 originally. And for whatever reason, they updated it to like a 6.1, and we know that's not the case. The other day, they had a 6.8 on there. And then a couple days prior to that, another 6-pointer. So there's that earthquake here in question. Looks like they downgraded it to a 3.5, but why the earthquake 3D globe here is showing a 6.1, I don't know. So if you do happen to see a big quake here showing up on the globe specifically, it's always within this area, just off the coast here, Morocco or Spain area. Just know that most likely that is a false earthquake or a false reported large earthquake for this area by the EMSC. And just for verification, jump on the EMSC data map here and you'll see that it was a 3.5. There is a timestamp 043935, right? And 0439, that's going to be UTC time. This is our time, 0930, or it's going to be 9:39 p.m. my time, UTC time right here. So that's the earthquake in question. Why the earthquake 3D globe wants to show a big one, that's just the data that it's receiving from EMSC. Hopefully that gets fixed, because that's a little irritating to see a big earthquake up on the globe, and it's not even a legit quake. Well, it's a legit quake, but not a big one, 3.5. All right, so moving on past that, before it really gets to me. Let's see here. Not a whole lot going on through Turkey or the Mediterranean for now. A little bit of activity across the Himalayas with a 3.4. And the Atlantic Ocean, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot of divergent boundary activity out there today. Just looks like a typical day here on this planet. We'll continue to watch. Right now, certain areas could be some quiet zones that we really haven't seen too much activity on here. This is the last 30 days, 4.5 and above. And that obviously includes New Zealand. It's a major plate boundary out here, and we just have not seen anything, at least according here to the USGS above 4.0. Now, we did see a couple low-grade 4s and even a 3.2 that the USGS is reporting outside of Christchurch there. But that's about it. But I still think things should fill in there. See here. South America has been relatively active here with smaller quakes. So you never know. But I think we should definitely watch this quiet zone. We could see some further activity overnight there in New Zealand. I'm not really seeing any major movement here across the Eastern Pacific. Western Pacific is always active in clusters here across the Indonesia region. But generally, just light to moderate movement out here today. So we'll just kind of watch this, see how it plays out overnight. And again, space weather activity. Let me jump back over here again. Yeah, we're coming back down from that M flare. Looks like that peaked out here at an M 2.2 is the maximum observed from 3080, which is that sunspot, or 3380, excuse me, right here. All right, folks, anything major going on for weather activity? Doesn't look like it. We're entering into a little quiet spell as far as the severe potential goes. Let's check out the numerical models out here. I want to check out thermodynamics here and see what we got for temp anomalies here. Blue, obviously, is a departure from the average temperature, so to speak. This is nighttime right now, it looks like. I'm just looking for any major red. Oh, man, Texas and Oklahoma going to cook here, it looks like, into the 5th of August. Here in California, we're supposed to get a little hot. Notice this area out here up and down the coast, up into Oregon, is going to get really cooking. Well, it looks like we have a pretty deep trough here, a low pressure trough, bringing in some cold air. Well, I wouldn't say cold. It kind of looks cold on the map, right? But these are departures from normal. Maybe about 12 to 15 degree departure here across areas of the plains. But we're going to be cooking out here in California for now. Or come the, looks like the 7th and 8th time period. And that coolness kind of drifts its way over across the Midwest area and the Great Lakes. I don't really see any cold spells coming for California, unfortunately. And that's a bummer because I do not like this heat. Let me check out the symbols here real quick and see what we have. This is kind of a different view. So, anyway, all right. Hope everyone has a good night. National Data Buoy Center. I don't think we got anything in event mode out here. Well, one off the coast of South America, but I think Timothy had mentioned this to me. Now, yeah, okay, so these are in meters, right? These are in meters. This is a buoy station just off the Peru-Chile Trench. Notice that drop in depth. Water meter height, column height here at this station, 32 or 32401. 32401, okay. Almost like literally a 2,000 meter drop. Now, you know right there that's an error, right? Because if that was the case, we would see that, with that type of drop, we would see that show up across all these other buoys out there in the Pacific, or in the Eastern Pacific, and it's just not happening. Looks like whatever the reason may be, went into some type of error mode. Because if you think about it, that's a major drop. That'd be a lot of water displaced, or You know, this is water column height. That would be uplift, wouldn't it, from the ground? I just don't see that happening because that'd be a huge tsunami that would be produced. So sometimes these things go into event mode. I think we had one out here across the just outside the Java Trench that went into event mode. Looks like they got it fixed though. All right, aside from that, folks, no major tsunami, no major earthquake activity, just a typical day here on this planet. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow sometime. Tuesday, first day of August 1st. Goodness. Take care, folks. Enjoy the rest of your night.